It's Doovie. I just came back from Europe. What a trip.
So on my way to Tenerife it was. After I dropped the vehicle off at the airport, I was already at the airport, so I was able to jump on or get over to where the train was gonna start. It was early in the morning, so the train hadn't started yet. I believe the train was called, or it was the Renfe station that I was going to, but there was a part of the airport that was connected to the train that was gonna take me to the train station, that was gonna take me out of the city and over to Valencia. Now I'd booked a few stops along the way, or at least one stop along the way before going directly to Tenerife to make it cheaper and to make the trip a lot faster. Well, in essence, it didn't work out to be faster, but in my mind it was faster, but I had to wait in the airport at Valencia, but we'll get into that. I booked my train ticket at the Renfe station, and it was gonna take me from Barcelona over to Valencia. I waited at the train station by the airport, and approximately maybe 6 a.m. or so, the train opened up for me to get over to the station that was gonna take me over to Valencia. So as I got over there, I took the train in the morning. When I got over there, I had to wait at the station. Went through a booking process with the ticket that I had already bought, and had to wait in the station for the train itself to leave to go over to Valencia. Now I was super beat. I was super tired because I hadn't gotten any sleep for the night as yet. I went to the party. I just finished going to the party in Barcelona, down by Barceloneta Beach, and I was beat. So for me, it was getting over to Valencia. I figured that it was a few hours ride. I would just sleep, which is what I did. Plus I had a bunch of bags with me, which is another thing. Traveling in Europe, traveling around Europe and navigating around, not the best idea to have a bunch of bags with you. One, because it's a lot you gotta lug around. Second, whenever flying, you gotta pay additional fees to check in your bags if you gotta check in anything that's heavier than probably 5 to 10 kilograms. You have to check them in. You can't have anything more than a knapsack or a backpack and maybe a small bag that you could carry in your hand or something that could fit under the seat. So I figured I would just sleep on a train ride. I got over to Valencia. I thought to myself, maybe I could stay in Valencia, check in my bags in the airport, leave them somewhere in some sort of storage, and then go around Valencia for the day, because I knew that I had about 12 to about 15 hours before I had to leave. Maybe even longer than that. Might have even been probably maybe even closer to 18 hours, 15 to 18 hours before my flight was leaving to go to Tenerife. So I was gonna check in my bags. That was the idea of what I was gonna do when I got to Valencia. But when I got over there, I tried to speak Spanish as best I could. I tried to relay the message or get the message across to whoever it was that would listen to me, people that worked within whatever facilities I was at. And they couldn't explain to me exactly where I could check in my bags or leave them and pay a storage fee and then travel around Valencia for the time being that I was there. So I was left having to take my bags with me. I was gonna take the bus at first, but my phone was dying. I just figured, let me jump in the cab because the phone was dying. I could have taken the bus. I wouldn't mind taking transit or the metro or whatever they refer to it as in Valencia, which is what I want to do because I like taking the transit to see, different ways around and how different places look and pass by different things, maybe get some scenic views of different areas. But it didn't work out for me that way. Plus it was raining that day too, which didn't add to the convenience of taking the bus at the time. So I jumped in a taxi. Taxi didn't cost me much though. It cost me about 15 euros to get from train station over to the airport. So once I got to the airport, I realized that the check-in they only allow you to check in up to even probably just as close as maybe an hour, maybe two before your actual flight takes off. Whereas when I was in a different place like Ireland, they allowed me to check in 6 hours prior to. Unfortunately for me, it didn't work out that way. I had to wait in the airport for 12, 18 hours, whatever the timing was. I know that I got there at some point, maybe just after 12 or 2 p.m. The following morning, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 a.m., something like that, somewhere around those times. So I had to wait in there. All I was really waiting for was for the lounge to open up. Because I know once a lounge opens up, I could go in there, I could go lounge out, I could go relax, I could get some food to eat, I could drink some water, get some fruits, get some snacks, whatever it was, keep my energy up and to make me feel more comfortable within the airport itself. As it did open up at 5 o'clock, though, I did go in there and I did sit in the lounge, but I was only in there for about an hour. The plane probably left some point just after 6 a.m. So I wasn't able to be in there for a long period of time. Lucky for me, I had a workout mat with me that I brought, one that rolled up. It was pretty thin, so I slept on the floor in the airport, but I was able to unravel that and laid out on the floor and slept right on the floor in the airport. I don't think anybody mugged me because everything was still in my bags when I got up, so I think I was good. That's what I was able to do. Roll out my exercise mat and sleep on it for a number of hours before I was able to go and check in. The lounge was all right. They had water. They had sparkling water. And they also had a little area where you could kind of lay out on to kind of sleep and catch Z's if you were tired. It was a little darker and had some kind of beach chairs, but thicker kind of chairs that you could lay out on. Thicker, softer material and kind of thick cushion. So that was cool for me. I was able to lay out on that for a while before actually jumping onto the plane that I was catching that morning. As the plane came, I didn't realize, and like I said, I didn't realize at that point that when you have a bunch of luggage, the bags itself, the check-in bags, they'll charge you somewhere upwards of 45 to 60 to even 70 or 80 euros just to check in your one bag. So which is why it pays, so if you can, stuff everything into a knapsack or some bag that you could carry on your back and just bring that on board with you, and maybe some sort of bag that you could carry in your hand. But it cost me to do that. So I booked my train ticket to Valencia from Barcelona for 32.45 euros, which was approximately just over $40 Canadian. So I booked my flight to Tenerife from Valencia for 77.45 euros, which was approximately in or around $100 Canadian. So when I got on the plane, or what I had realized is I actually booked priority seating. Well, what it did is it allowed me to bypass the line when boarding the plane, which I didn't know that I booked. I thought I booked for just the luggage or the check-in, but then I had to book the luggage and check-in additionally on top of that, not knowing that that's not what I booked. And I booked that for 19.99 euros for that alone. So I had to pay for that as well as the 45 euros for the check-in. So when I got onto the plane, obviously they allowed me to bypass the line. I got on and the plane was pretty packed that morning. I guess a lot of people wanted to make it over to Tenerife, and I don't blame them. Tenerife is a very, very, very beautiful place. Gorgeous. But we'll get into that. I got over to on the plane. It was a smooth ride. I enjoyed the trip. It was a couple hours. By the time I got there, it was the morning. I was refreshed because I got some sleep in the airport and I got a little bit of rest on the plane itself, and I was good to go. So I looked on my phone to try to find my way over to the South Airport. I checked on the GPS and I saw I looked for the buses that were making their way over there, and if I had to transfer buses or what it would have been. To make matters worse, it was raining outside. So I had to try to figure out a way to get over there. to the South Airport. Now, I wasn't gonna take the taxi because apparently it was a really far drive and it would have cost me all types of money to get over there. So that wasn't an option for me. I'd spoken to an attendant, and fortunately for me, she spoke English and she was able to help me to navigate my way at least onto that first bus. She explained to me what would happen afterwards once I'd get onto the second bus. But she told me that the bus that I was jumping on, which cost me €8, which is somewhere around 11 Canadian dollars or so, she told me that that bus would take me over to Santa Cruz.